Welcome to the One Shot Wonderarium. I am your host, as always, Tony, and joined with me here I have Jehevaunte. We are going to play a game of Breakup on Reentry. If this is your first time tuning into the Wonderarium is a game where I have too many TTRPGs and not enough friends, so I trick people from the internet to come and play with me. And, well, it's worked, so hey, we have a show. Breakup on Reentry is a really cool game. You can see we've got cards down below. The way this game works, if you're unfamiliar with card-based prompt games, this game, we will draw X amount of cards, and we'll actually play, like, if you played spades or clubs, we'll actually play tricks to see who can take the cards. And as we play each card, we will have to narrate or talk through an event that has happened in these characters' lives. You'll see on the left of the cards there's a little card that says remove from play. That's a card we'll actually add back into the deck at the end after a break to make sure that we get a good ending and we don't have the first card be the end everything card, because that usually is anticlimactic and not as much fun. So that is the brief rundown of this game. Let's first touch base I think, with Jehevaunte. Jehevaunte, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing, afternoonish. I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm excited. For those of you who are, like I said, unfamiliar with the game, this is a game where Jehevaunte and I are playing star-crossed lovers. The first generation in this world, the first generation of mech pilots were all killed in their sleep, slaughtered by opposing factions in a wash of interstellar blood. And you are one of the second generation of mecha pilots who keep their roles hidden from the world and from those you love. So we are playing mecha pilots from each side who don't know that the other is a mecha pilot for the opposing side. We are sworn enemies, and we are chief rivals to each other in a conflict that rages above us. As players, we know that each other holds both identities. Our characters do not know this. So this is something we will probably have to deal with during this happenstance. The two sort of warring factions are the Earth and its colonies, which is very interesting. So, Jehevaunte, who are you playing today?
Today I am playing, I have to put my notes again, Alistair McAllis, also known as Ali, to people that recognize him outside of the what he likes to be called, who is fighting for Earth under the call sign Khan. He is... Do you want me to just go through some of his appearance stuff and maybe what mech he pilots, or?
Yeah. We'll just give some base backstory on a lot of that stuff. Absolutely.
Alistair was born on Earth and has fought for Earth since he had the ability to first do so. In terms of like a character who views himself as a born soldier, or more accurately to Alistair, a born weapon. He helped design his specific mech, which he calls the King in Yellow, a very reptilian-looking, tall, powerful mech in its design, reflecting Alistair, who is himself a little tall, has the guise of a soldier, a very rigid body, very rigid in ways of speech and way of thinking, but always has like a little bit of a cocky grin on his face.
Can't wait to wipe that off. I mean, what?
What?
That is amazing. So I am playing Julian Baker, known as Jules by those close to him. Julian Baker is known by their call sign Olympia. And Julian pilots this giant, sort of odd-looking mech designed for space battles. and it draws from the themes of a many-armed octopus, and it has two legs. It is humanoid in appearance, except when you get to the like upper torso, where it has just many arms that are sort of faded into the head, so it has its like almost Cthulhu-esque vibe to it. And those who don't know by call sign will oftentimes refer to this mech as Cthulhu or a giant octopus or something like that, right? But Jules themselves is sort of spry. They grew up in the colonies and had to find a way out. And their way out, like many folks in these areas, was to sign up and go be a soldier. And it started as a ways to a means, and it turned into. They have always been the type of person who tried to protect the people around them, and they have really taken on that mantle as a defender. So that is absolutely awesome. And thank you, Kairos, for following. We appreciate that very, very much. Yeah, so, but they are, I think, pretty skinny as people go. They're not the ideal of a soldier like Alistair would be. They are lithe and graceful, and lots of time in space has really, like, your mobility and flexibility oftentimes is what's there, as opposed to direct strength. This really, I think, shows in their frame. So they are thin. You can at times see their like bone structure. So yeah, that is Julian Baker. Are we ready to get into our first conflict?
I think we're ready. I think we're ready to cry. Let's go.
Okay. So the way this game works is we are at the final confrontation between these two armies. This is the battle for it all that we are going to be playing out. And we are both leaders of our sides. And so as we play this card game, every time we play a card, it is a prompt that we are going to have to talk about. We're going to have to build this story prompt by prompt. We don't know what we're going to see in this, but we know it's going to be difficult. And the way it works is one of us will start, and they'll pick a suit. You can play hearts at any time, but otherwise, you'll need to play whatever suit is led. So, good luck. And at the end of this, like many trick-taking card games, if you've played those before, the person with the most cards at the end of the game is your winner. Their side is actually going to be victorious in whatever way narratively makes the most sense, and whatever way narratively feels the best for us. So, we actually didn't decide who would start, and I don't remember if that is actually in the rules. I don't remember it being in the rules. So, do you have a preference on who starts, or should we flip a coin?
I have no preference. Let's flip a coin.
All right. Call heads or tails?
Tails.
It is tails. You're going to go ahead and start.
I'll start us off. I'm going to do... Let's get rid of this. I think I'll just play him over here. Ace of Diamonds.
Oof. Okay. As we play these, do we want to play out the prompts and then have the next card actually get played, or do we want to play a few cards and then go through all the prompts?
I say let's play out the prompts as we play the cards, so that we don't get confused.
Perfect. So your first prompt is, where do you live and why is that an unsafe place?
Alistair grew up and predominantly lives when when he's not at home. Uh, Predominantly lives in one of the Earth's many slums and ghettos. I would assume at this point in time, Earth is almost fully packed in with people, hence the colonies. Um, Alistair grew up in what is essentially a big old slum that has a bunch of other people living there. Uh, the the biggest danger is that with all of the people there and not a lot of resources to go around, gang violence is predominantly the leading factor of weeding out people. Alistair grew up in that environment and had to grow up really quickly in order to live through it. They don't like going back because it's just it hasn't changed at all.
Okay. That's super duper cool. Well, I mean, you know, unsafe, and but I like that.
Mm.
So I'm gonna go ahead and meet your ace of diamonds with a seven of diamonds.
Yep.
And so I owe someone a great deal of money back at home. Who is it, and what will they do if the debts are unpaid? I think I don't think getting into the sort of military service, mech service, was the first thing that they tried. I think in the beginning they took out a loan and tried to create a business to try and generate enough money to take hold of their own destiny. And Jules was abysmal at it. I think they have somewhat a mind for numbers, but business is more than just numbers, right? The business side of it is there's so much more schmoozing and who you know as an aspect than it is what you're selling. And so while the concept of what they were selling might have been good, it wasn't good enough to overcome the fact that they were, kind of a nobody. And I think if they don't find a way to pay this person back, and they are slowly paying them back, I think that there are loved ones of theirs that will be moved to more dangerous jobs.
Mm.
It's probably a family member, I would say.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It is so unfortunate.
I mean, yeah, it's not always their choice to get into the fight, but they're here now, right?
Yeah. The thing is, you win this because that was the only diamond card I had.
So you've won that, right?
Yeah,
So,
you would have won, as the ace would have been lower, isn't it?
oh wait, does ace count as lower in this?
Ace is a 1.
Oh, I missed that portion of it.
Ace is 1, kings are high.
Oh, I thought I'd lost completely.
Nope.
Okay, well that is better than I expected. I should have created little piles for each of us. I'm gonna take on the right over here on this Discord and create my piles up here. If you want to take on the left there, over above that, remove from play. Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to be a little bit of a jerk here. And we're going to play a diamond.
Okay. Rude, but go on, fam. I can't counter it.
I played too many trick-taking games in college. It's fine. Oh, wait. Aren't we... We are supposed to... actually, we have... I've messed up. So, we are supposed to, I think, draw back up at the end of each clash.
Yes.
So, let's go ahead. I'm going to put that back.
Of that draw.
Okay, and I will as well. So yeah, and you know what? I'm just gonna hold to what I did. We're just gonna do that anyway. It's fine. But the other thing is, when you win a clash, there is some sort of fight that happens on the field. So I think my forces have an initial volley. I think as we are above the atmosphere of Earth, taking on the Earth forces. There is Earth at this point, between the mech battles and the rampant satellites and things like that. Low and high Earth orbit are both coated in trash.
Yeah.
And so I think we have set up the beginning of this battle to immediately be a volley of debris that is sort of blinding. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but it is supposed to confuse your side.
Yeah.
More than anything. So I think that immediately you just see like mechs kicking or throwing just giant balls of space trash. So
that makes sense.
Awesome. Okay, so we are going to head on into Queen here. This Queen that I'm playing. You have a special place in your home just for you. And why is it important that it is a secret? Now, when we talk about home, because our characters actually live together, so I'm talking about our shared home here. So I do have a quick question for you. Do we live on Earth? Do we live on a space station somewhere in between? Because it feels a little bit weird to say we were on Earth or in the colonies, right?
Out of necessity of like keeping our identities secret enough, having like a space station that we call our home makes sense.
Okay. So like a moon orbital space station or Mars or something. Okay. I kind of like the moon because it's not far enough that I think it would be a colony, but it's also not Earth.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
What is akin to neutral ground, that is probably what is honestly being fought for.
Yes. Yeah. So we on our moon base home. I have a special place in there. It actually is a small bookcase. At the very bottom, the bottom two shelves of a bookcase actually slide open, and I am thin and wriggly enough that I can slide underneath there. And on the back wall of that is, I think it's the place I communicate with my family. Right? They are working manual labor, like mining and sustenance jobs, right? And with the time difference and the way that planetary communication works, I don't get a ton of time to talk with them. So having those quiet, uninterrupted moments to speak to my family is massive. And I also think that hidden in that is where I get my orders from.
I would say it's also the easiest place for you to contact anybody that's a colonizer, because I'm not looking.
Exactly. So yeah.
Well, it's yours. I have no cards to play.
Oh, wait. Do you not have any hearts either?
Oh yeah, you can play hearts at any point.
Yes, I believe hearts are effectively a trump card at this in this, as I understand it. This is what I have to understand is I'm trying to figure out if hearts matter here, or like if hearts are a better.
Hearts can be played regardless of theme. I don't think that they are better necessarily. I think that they just act.
So it would have to be a King of Hearts or an Ace of Hearts, or a King of Hearts to beat this Queen of Diamonds, right?
Yes.
Okay. Um,
Just to get rid of it, I will play a card.
okay.
Just because it's going to be a lower suit, but I will just play to get rid of it.
Okay. That's totally fine.
I'll do
I
just a
do
3
think that
card.
is something that we probably should do. Like trick taking games, you have to play the first volley, but you can
Yeah,
bow out after that.
yeah.
I think
I'll
that
do
makes
3.
sense.
Yeah. My lover has a subconscious quirk or habit that I don't notice. What is it, and why do I love them for it? I think Alistair notices that you tend to, if you are ever like distracted by something or are looking to do something, uh, you tend to twirl your hair a bit. Like finger goes through the long hair, pulls through, and then like pulls down. And it's the most to Alistair, it's like the most innocent human reaction that anyone can do to anything confusing. Because it's like forming habits is a very human thing to do. So seeing that habit form and constantly happen, like, yep, you're the exact person I remember and recognize.
I love that. Can I add a little bit to it?
Absolutely.
That these twirls actually become unthinking braids, and so they're just tiny little like Padawan braids
Mm-hmm.
that get hung down and can be pulled apart later, but
Yeah.
based on how much has been going on, you can kind of tell how
Yeah.
crazy of a week it's been by how many little braids there are.
Yeah. Which I think is cute.
I love that. Awesome. So let's go ahead and we'll take that one. We are trying to win here, so let's just keep going, I guess. This is so weird for a tabletop RPG to be like, I'm trying to win.
Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to not die for my family. Um, so I won't do that for now. But let's go ahead and I'm gonna start with a 3 of clubs here, or spades. Sorry, 3 of spades. So your opponent barely connects. Oh, that's actually so our second sort of volley, I think, is the start of like hand to hand combat. Maybe not hand to hand combat, but the start of a actual combat.
Mhm.
And I think there are pistols meant to basically jam mechs into each other. Their movement, their shoving.
Yeah.
That are supposed to play upon this sort of chaos created by this initial trash volley is sort of these I'll call them pulse. They're not they're like I said, they're like an air cannon but in space. So
Yeah.
I don't know what that would exactly look like, but we're also dealing with mech sci-fi future.
Like a
So
railgun. Like a railgun-ish.
yeah. And it's just meant to push the ranks back into each other so they can't move as well. But yeah, so 3. Your opponent barely connects. What minor system is damaged? I think in doing this, I do think you guys are firing back at us,
Mhm.
and I think there is a hydraulic system on somewhere in like the torso of the mech
Mhm.
that signals for retreat.
Mhm.
So Jules is now locked into this. They cannot
Yeah.
visually signal for a retreat now.
Mhm. There's probably, to add on, if that's all right, as that initial volley is happening, uh, Ali isn't initially seen during that first volley, and it's only when there's this sort of a smaller pulse that hits the hydraulic system that Ali becomes visible as if having like hydraulically locked himself to one of the floating trash debris, and that's just the first sign. Like I'm here. I can see you.
I like that. I like that. So they've really been very savvy with how they're dealing with this first initial push.
Countering that, I'll do a 5. What move does your opponent execute that tells you they've been practicing since your last fight? I think probably going for this like a second shot, probably a bit more closer to a vital system. As the shot goes, your mech's like octopus style movement, it pushes away from the strike and spins out. So the shot just goes wide. It's like, oh, all right, you actually figure out how to dodge.
I like that. So, yeah, that the ability to dodge, but also the ability of using those arms as more than just grappling and as a greater pull. I'm going to add on to this. 9 of spades. What surprises you about your opponent's advance? I think this is when we start seeing the cracks of them realizing that they may know more about this person than they've previously realized. I think part of the way we pass our time is playing games. And I don't know if it's chess or checkers. There's some sort of a war game where there's like a favorite opening move. And I think that starts to show here. And it is surprising because it is not expected, right? Like it's something that would be expected on, say, a chessboard, but not usually expected on the battlefield. But the two moves sort of mirror each other, and it's not something that consciously is realized yet.
I think to add, because that does make sense, if it's all right to add, probably what may catch is, I would probably say that the mechs may have like an intervox communication, that it's probably very garbled over enemy lines that, yeah, we don't pick up on who each of us sounds like, but there's just this like, after that initial first strike, you just hear, Sicilian defense, which is a chess move that they recognize. Like, oh, okay, interesting.
Absolutely. So yeah, I like that a lot. Of the sort of garbled, and that also gives us a little bit more role play for them to have some radio back and forth. I like that too.
Yeah. All right, you played a 9. I see that. Here's a 10.
I see you.
Your opponent lands a serious blow. A major system is damaged. I think after that initial spin out, still recharging the pulse on the hand. As he turns to shoot it, one of the debris that's been floating past, your mech catches and chucks back. And as it gets just close enough to the pulse and it fires off, it shatters that weapon system. So there's just this kickback. Alistair like looking at his system to make sure that nothing fully is damaged, and then just notices like left arm not functioning. That's done and dusted. There's no weapon system on that arm, nor is that arm in a repairable state of functionality at the moment.
I do like that. So I am going to let you. I'm going to bow out of this one at this point.
All right.
I'll
go ahead then. Come back.
So you almost had it. Hey. This is the trickiest part of this game, is getting the online system to get the cards right. If you're playing this in person, this would be a little bit easier than what we're doing. Actually, probably a lot easier.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as going for what the clash is happening, since I would probably be going next on my play, but as that initial volley starts to wear off, because they are attacking near Earth, there is the orbital defense systems starting to finally come online after the surprise attack. So after the initial volley, there's a return volley sent back by the defense systems, while the Earth's core defenses start to gather and regroup, essentially forming a small little blockade around the planet itself. It's also probably around this point that there's noticeable chatter of like, we have two mechs engaging near the moon, essentially.
Yeah. There is, and I think there's a sort of, moment where my forces sort of will fortify for a second. There's a slight pause as we have to focus in on this new incoming fire. But it is your choice of what to play next, by the way.
We will go clubs. Start with 2. Just getting rid of it. What vital public service was canceled a year into the fighting? There was going to be an election initially for the new, I guess, leader of the Defense Force for Earth. The older leader, kind of a war dog, was set to retire before the war started to really kick into high gear. There was talk that the new leader that would have been elected would have probably have tried to garner peace, but the moment the fires of war happened, that was thrown out the window.
Okay.
So it's still the old guard, still in charge of Earth, still wanting things to be the way that they are.
Oh, that's interesting. And I think, yeah. Oh, that's insidious. Where it's like, oh, hey, we don't have the resources for this election.
Yeah.
Democracy
is thrown out for favor of pragmatism.
Yeah, well, then I think in many of these scenarios historically, I think we see that, like, this is surprisingly supported by the people. So I guess this is the question. Are people in favor of this strong-handed approach and like, yeah, we'll deal with that later? Or is it a full, like, takeover?
I think that for a lot of the public that grew up before the war, they're very much in support on either side. Just like this was inevitability. So it's pragmatism wins out over democracy because the inevitable is happening. We can't focus on what might have been, just what is. But for people that grew up as the war is happening and learning about this history, it's probably not as well supported because, like, well, we could have had something different. You all chose not to. So there's probably a much more, I guess, like a silent majority that is trying to have change, but they can't do anything actively about that change.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's go ahead. I'll see your 2 and raise you a 6. Which I just navigated away from that. Oh, there we go. What are you worried will happen if your identity as a pilot leaks? I think 2 things. There is the quiet thing of, like, it might put my family in danger back home. But more importantly, I think there is, the first wave of mech pilots all got killed. But Jules has taken their life in their own hands and is not as much afraid of dying themselves. I think they're more worried about Alistair being used as a pawn piece or being killed in retribution or in manipulation.
Yeah.
I think they keep it quiet to protect you.
Mm. That would definitely track. I think it probably doesn't help that Alistair himself doesn't talk about the war as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, any question about it would probably get brushed aside, and there's this sort of feeling of, like, there's something wrong with while the war is happening, that if I told him, what would he think if I told him I was involved in the war at all?
Worried
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely does.
I hate to do this, but I'm gonna play now. And here's a king.
I was wondering if that was going to come out.
Yeah. What would I give in order to retire and never have to fight again? I think that was the clubs card. Yeah. I don't think that Alistair would know what to do. He this is the question I think that Alistair asks himself a lot of, less so of like what would I give, but it's the like, do I want to? It's this like, this life of consistent battle and fighting is about the only thing that has ever made sense.
Yeah.
But I think if he were to stop, if he were to give up anything, it would probably would try to give up everything. Like, the only thing that he wants is probably just to be happy with Jules. So it's like, if it does cost me anything to make sure that happens, I'll do it. He would potentially betray Earth if it meant that he could stop fighting at all. But it's the question of, does he even want that to happen?
Absolutely. And let's be honest, you're going to win this one. Unsurprisingly.
I'm going to go ahead and just gather my cards.
Yeah. You got it. So I am bowing out there. So how does that clash resolve, by the way?
I think since I'm going to focus away from the outer conflict of the two warring sides and back to the mechs, I think there's just this moment over the Vox chatter, like a second's pause, and then y'all have one more push. I'm not letting you get past me again. And there's the charging of a weapon on the right arm, and he doesn't attack you, but he swings the arm and fires another force pulse at one of the incoming colony ships and just pierces straight through it. Like, I'm being serious now. Like, this is the end of this.
Okay. Oh, that ship just disintegrates under that pulse. The other thing I will say is, well, there's a short range Vox that we can talk on. There's also, I think, side communication. Like, there's a radio frequency that each of us have with our people.
Yeah.
And so this moment is punctuated by Jules hearing the sort of screams of folks on that ship.
Yeah.
Of dismay, of people like shouting for lifeboats and trying to get out. That becomes the background of this next part of the clash, I think.
Mm-hmm. For sure. You're starting us off.
No, it'll be because you won the last one.
Oh, it'll
right?
be me? Because I won the last one. You are right. Let's just play. We'll keep on clubs. Do 4 clubs. What building once stood in the center across the street from your home? He grew up in a ghetto. I would say that the building that once stood there was probably just like probably one of the last few remaining like genuine bodegas. Just like, this is a place that sells like actual food, not, MREs or rations, but like whatever we have that we could constitute as like food.
Yeah.
Which, when the war happened and rationing became a thing, like this, it destroyed this place.
Okay. Gotcha. Sorry, I I laughed at that. That was the wrong moment to laugh. This channel has a history with bodegas specifically. And so that's something we'll hit on another time. I just had to felt like I had to explain why you bring up a bodega created that response. Anyway, so we'll keep going here. But I do like that it was one of the few places you could get resources, but it was constantly sort of like going out of business because the people around it didn't have the ability to support it.
Yeah.
But they needed it desperately. So I see your I have had this system that we're using has okay. It apparently saw me moving cards and kicked me into trying to get me to pay for an account. So it just opened a new tab on me. So sorry, stream. You saw that as well. All right. We got an 8 of clubs here. Why are you willing to fight for your faction no matter what? There is, whether it is through brainwashing or because of the nature of sort of guerrilla factions, and I think the colonies are closer to a like, Star Wars Rebels, right? Where they are a sort of guerrilla fighting faction. There is almost a familial aspect to it. Right? These people have all made some sort of a pledge. The other thing is, I think that Jules has seen too many of his friends lay down their lives for this very same cause. And what does it mean to give up? What does it mean to make those... does this make those lives worth nothing if you walk away from that? And I think that's part of why they will fight to the end.
That point being made with, like, still hearing the screams over the radio. Like, every one of those people, like, maybe it's not just colony, like, soldiers in there, but, like, this is a colony ship. Like, these are people, these are families in there. That's not just people fighting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you take that one. I have cards I need to save. I'm letting you take that win.
Trying to play the smart game.
A little bit. The spades player in me is...
I have a euchre past, so yeah. You know what? For funsies, we're gonna start up. This next volley. I think there is a moment of fury, of just almost a berserker rage, where Olympia and Jules driving Olympia. Olympia fires their jets and spins their arms and actually goes in for a fist fight. Right? We've left behind sort of the civilized laser warfare, and it is, I'm going to beat your face in this moment. And I think they start swinging and dent up and scrape up that yellow and Vanta black exterior of the mech before their own people actually have to fire grappling hooks into their back and yank them back.
Yeah.
And you just hear over the Vox, you hear curses and shouting, right? Like it's not intelligible. Right? Like it's as they're sort of swept up by this.
Oh boy. And you have the jack of clubs played too. That's your question.
Oh, I forgot about the question. In my brain, I was answering the question.
Good.
What makes me the best pilot in the fleet? I think what makes Jules the best pilot in the fleet is pretty simple. I think they grew up driving machinery, right? Like, so I grew up in rural Kansas. Parallel parking is never a problem because I grew up backing tractors into spaces, right, with machinery attached.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no issue parallel parking in the big city because my car is much, much smaller than a tractor with a trailer attached and much, much easier to control. And I think in that same way, they were so used to the control mechanisms on the different machinery that they would need, and from a young age as well, right? The colonies, as soon as you are able, you are put into something. As a young kid, you may not be able to lift and to carry, but you are able to run a machine that people are lifting and carrying things into. And so I think, yeah, they just years and years of experience mixed with the other factor I think here is that they are like double jointed. So they actually have extra hand flexibility that's not normal, that allows them to like do different moves and to react in different ways than most people would. And I think this is actually shown on one of when Jules and Alistair got to know each other. At one point, Jules, who has a bit of a comedy streak at times, has not told Alistair that they're double jointed, and they come out with their hand like popped in a weird way, and like, oh my god, I heard, right? And there's this moment of Jules or Alistair freaking out before Jules falls over, and they're just trying to hold it together, right? This whole time, before they're like, nah, we're good.
That's adorable. I'm totally in love with that. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna waste a heart because you're gonna win this one. So I'm just gonna put a lower heart.
Heck yeah!
Waste 6 of hearts on this one. When my lover introduced me to their parents, how did I embarrass myself, and how did they reassure me? Oh. I think there's a level of like wanting to make such a good first impression that Alistair showed up in like a full suit, which they don't like and they don't appreciate being in one, but it was the most casual get together possible. It's like going to in a full suit to like a B-dubs, like, like Buffalo Wild Wings, and completely like, yeah, this was not it, Chief, but like the immediately joking and reassuring them of like, it's fine, we appreciate the effort you put in, but like, we're not the people that you need to impress, kind of thing.
Yeah. As someone who once insisted that a date dress up to go to Olive Garden, I feel that on a really deep level.
Mm-hmm. As someone that has dressed up to go to Olive Garden, I feel that.
She hated that we dressed up to go to Olive Garden. It's a rough time, buddy.
Like, yeah. So it was, but I think there's just this like a consistent nagging of like, I have to make myself look like I deserve this, as opposed to, well, you're already in the midst of it. Like, we get it, Yeah. You don't have to pretend to be something that you're not to be this.
Yeah, I think there's a conversation. If I can add to it, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
a
of course.
conversation where Jules pulls them aside and goes, "Hey, just be you. You're enough. You know that, right?"
That's always been the hard part. I'm not really sure what that me is. I'm trying.
I know.
It's a work in progress.
We can figure it out together. But,
Right.
and I think there's like a forehead kiss, right?
Yep.
And they'll walk back to the table.
That hands. That's yours.
Okay.
Re-add a card.
Yup.
Stop doing this to me. I see what you're doing. Cease that.
So I think in this volley, I think before they get pulled back, I think they are able to catch that sort of already defunct weapon system. And I think that is ripped off. I think there's no chance of it getting fixed now.
Mm-hmm.
So, this has been working great for me so far. So let's go ahead. How do you like a Queen of Clubs?
Why? What? All right, sure. Sure, why not?
Whose face haunts me when I close my eyes? And this is what I did to myself here. This is the problem I created. Oh. Whose face haunts me when I close my eyes? I think that there is the easy answer here is the first person I killed. I think that's the easy answer here. I don't know if I want to take it, but I don't have any other thoughts. So, do you have a suggestion?
I think. Well, because the question is, was the first person that you killed in a mech?
Okay.
Because I think what it could be is that it was the first person that you actually saw die, as opposed to combat in the mechs tends to be you're doing ship to ship or so on and so forth. You never get to look, but the one time that you got to see.
Okay, I like where you're headed, and I'm going to ratchet it up a little bit. I still haven't figured it out, but I think we're getting closer. I think given who Jules is, it's the first person they couldn't defend or protect. I want to say it's a sibling. I want to say it's a younger sibling.
Yeah.
I think that there is probably a younger sibling who.
Could I give a suggestion and go real kind of jacked up?
Let's do it.
Despite the colonies having to do as soon as you're capable of working, you can work. The only exception is soldiers. You have to be a very specific age to enlist, let alone go. But sometimes records get messed up.
Yeah.
Sometimes ages don't get checked, and there was a time that it happened, and you may have been called to the field just for them to go do you recognize who this is? This looks like they look like you. To find your brother wanting to be a hero didn't make it through the battle.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think yes. I absolutely we're going with this, and I think it's shortly after a conversation, like you have with siblings sometimes, where you say, "I'll take care of it," and they go around you and try to solve the problem themselves anyway.
Yeah.
And there, yeah. I don't know what the problem is yet. We can maybe touch on that later, but I think absolutely it is the face of my we'll say brother, yeah, my younger brother, who went up and enlisted and ended up dying in their first battle. Right, they didn't make it out of the gate really.
Yeah.
And that's brutal.
Yeah. Well, dick move on your part. I'm gonna waste another heart.
Yeah.
We did 8. I'm gonna waste 8 of hearts. What is your lover allergic to, and how did you have to adjust? Alistair likes to cook. They are very specifically, because I am also very specifically this, they are very much like a Cajun style cook. Unfortunately, because I know that this would suck for anyone that is a fan of Cajun cooking, Jules is allergic to shellfish. So that takes crawfish out of any gumbo you make. That takes a lot of jambalaya out of the running. Takes a lot of scallops and things like that. So it's adjusting the minutia of like my favorite style of cooking. I now have to change to fit a dietary restriction, which I can do, but it hurts inside.
This is amazing because inadvertently, well, one, that's really great on its own, but I think inadvertently we've done something really cool, which is this is part of why Jules picked the Cthulhu mech, is because octopus is considered a type of shellfish.
Yep.
And they are trying to use their weakness as a strength. I love that. That's a cool
great.
tie-in. Amazing. I could keep pushing here. I'm not going to. So we're just gonna.
Why are you giving me these cards?
And we're gonna take another club. No, I'm just kidding. Come on, add to the stack. There we go. Add to the stack. There. Okay. Whew. I think on this. I do think on this next volley, there is a moment where one of the octopus tentacles opens up, and there's like what I'm calling a scatter railgun, right? It's like a shotgun.
Yeah.
There is a shotgun blast that comes out of it. As I think we're still in closer range than we most mech fights would be.
Yeah.
But it's not at you. It is at maybe your second in command or somebody else on your team. It is another mech. And it's just a shot to like the torso. Yeah, we are in brutality of gut shots for mechs right now. Which, yeah, that's where this fight has ended up for Jules at the moment. And I do think, given what we just talked about, I think that Jules sort of jokingly refers to this shot as a Tabasco shot. I think it started as like a funny little thing and is now become like a
It's part of the vernacular.
Yeah. And so you hear over that like short range vox. How you like that, Tabasco?
There's a noticeable pause, like a bit of like almost like a not confused, but a very bemused pause, and then just, I've had worse. Hiccups, Jesus.
Let's see. Where do we want to go? You know what? We are getting close to a break. I think we play one more round, and then I think we can take a break.
Sounds good.
And we'll add in that king, and we'll finish off the deck of cards and tell the rest of the story after that. But I think this is the last sort of round before that.
Sounds good.
And I'm going to go ahead and start us off with some diamonds. 3 of diamonds here. So, what do trees look like where you live on the colony? Wow. Sorry, I got distracted by hurricane rain outside my window. It was sunny 2 minutes ago, and all of a sudden it is just downpour.
Yeah.
What do trees look like? So I think out in the colonies, gravity is not as strong. And outside of like the space station, actually, where we live. So on this moon base, I should say, on this moon base, I think trees are. A lot of times they look like they do on Earth because this moon base, I think, is geared as a lot of times people's first place when they leave Earth. But every once in a while, you will see fruit will look different, right? Pears, and I don't know if this is the case, but I'm going to make this the case in our world. Pears grow bulbous on the bottom because of gravity. They no longer have the specific pear shape. Now, pears are almost in this sort of they're almost tubular, right? Like a straightened out banana, which is sort of a heinous concept.
So weird to imagine. I don't like that.
It absolutely is. But it allows the trees to grow more of them in the same space. So it's actually a helpful adaptation for the tree. And it actually is a helpful adaptation for those of us who need to grow more tree or more food with the same number of same amount of space, because space in outer space, the actual growable land is super duper important, right? There's not a lot of farmable land, and if you've got orchards, each tree has to produce the maximum amount of vegetables. So I think the other thing is you see that trees are not as branching and as wide. I think they get sculpted to be.
There's less space, but more going up, so more stuff is growing.
Yes. Yeah. So
that tracks. Oh God, why do I have hiccups now? Okay.
Sounds like you're scared, Jehevaunte.
No. Granted, I don't have any diamonds, but here's a 5 of hearts.
Okay.
Your lover disagrees with you on whether or not you should leave Earth. Why do you think you may still be able to change their mind? I think that there's been Ali has never taken Jules to where they lived on Earth at any point. We're not going there. But consistently, any conversation of well, why not just not live there at all is really put down with I was born there. There is it's not even a loyalty to Earth, but it's to where they were born.
Okay.
You don't leave the soil you're from. This is where I became who I am. I'm not going to just forsake that because it's dangerous.
Interesting. Okay. And I do think there's a conversation that the two have where I think Jules is looking at them and goes, "You talk about this place like it's toxic and you never want to see it again, but you always seem to keep it just within sight. It doesn't make sense."
You ever watch an old video, and you know it's an awful movie to watch? It doesn't mean anything. Nothing about it sticks to you at all. There's no characters that are worth looking at, but you still keep watching it. It's still a favorite movie of yours. It doesn't matter how bad it actually is, what it rated, anything. It's yours. I don't like my home. I don't like the people there. I don't like what it is. But it's home. And when this is all over, it's going to be there. Regardless of anything else, it's there. It's tangible. It's real. I can't forsake that.
I can't tell you that you're wrong for any of that. I can't. I can't tell you that you shouldn't feel the way that you do. But I thought we were creating a home here.
When it's done, when this war is over, I'm going to walk along the same sidewalk I've always walked along for one more time. When it's over, I'm going to have a home. I know it's going to be here, but I can't give up the one I was born in.
Then, for your sake, I hope this war ends quick and painless.
I have a feeling one of those is going to be true.
And I think that's where we head to break, y'all.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect for a break, bitch. We'll be right back with the second half of this game. It's getting heavy and great. I'm very excited. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll see you back in a few.
Yep.
Welcome back. All right, we are back from break, y'all. I hope everybody got their drinks re-upped and, hiccups not under control. But it's funny that as I was saying that, it's just boom.
It happened. Yep.
You can see it live. We are back. We have our end card shuffled into the deck. That is the King of Hearts. For those of you who are tuning in with us, we are playing a game of Breakup on Re-Entry. The idea is that Jehevaunte and I are playing two people who are in love and live together, but represent different factions in this conflict and have to keep that involvement secret. And we are facing off in a final battle and also learning that the other may be in this battle through this process. And coming to terms with these things, and also building the backstory of how we all got here. It's been wild and intense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we have a lot of fun games here on the One Shot Wonderarium. This game is a lot of fun, but it is fun because it tugs at your heartstrings and because it makes you feel things. It is less on the jokey time, right? Usually I'm known for my dad jokes. If those of you who are watching, I'm at 0 so far in this game, which is wild. But that's just, I think, out of respect for the topics and for the gameplay. We're having a great time.
Yeah.
So we are ready to enter this sort of next phase of the game. And the other thing for those of you who are joining in, as we play, we've got this card game below. Whoever basically takes the most tricks in this trick-based game that we're doing, their side ends up winning. So maybe that means the other is blasted out of the sky in a ball of fire, or is arrested and tried for war crimes, or whatever, right? This can end in many, many different ways. However, if we both end up with the same number of cards, we both die.
Yeah.
That is the potential of this game, is we don't know how it's going to end. And we're figuring that out on the fly. And we're fighting for our characters' lives in these cards, which is why I've been a bit brutal to Jehevaunte. Sorry, not sorry.
It's fine.
Like I said, that Midwestern spades euchre mindset has really come in handy here. So, I did win the last round of combat. So, I am going to go ahead and take off with this one, I think. And that would be awful. I'm trying to figure out what to play here. And so, yeah. Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to start with a 4 of diamonds. 4 of diamonds. Is that another one you don't have?
I don't have diamonds.
I keep burning through stuff and finding out you don't have them, which is alarming for me.
It's fine. I'm okay.
4 of diamonds. What animal do you keep as a pet, and why are they so important to you? Ooh, I think this is something I brought from home. I don't think this is something as simple as a cat or a bird or a lizard or something, right? I think it is a creature from the colonies that only exists out there. And yeah, I wanted to kind of be a little slime, a little like gooey boy.
Dude.
Yeah.
A little plasmoid.
Yeah, a little plasmoid. And I think it sneaks into the cockpit with me quite often. And why is it so important? This plasmoid was actually my brother's. It was my brother's pet that he found one day on the job and brought home, and we all thought he was stupid for it. We all thought he was dumb. It was another mouth to feed. It was another thing to take care of. We don't have resources for this type of a thing. But he decided on it anyway. And he was hard-headed. And so when I had to identify his body, I ended up with the plasmoid. It sort of snuck out of his jacket when nobody was looking.
I feel like Alistair is very much like the dad that always says they don't want a pet, but is also the one like sleeping on the couch. The plasmoid is sleeping on top of him on the couch, and his hand's just on the plasmoid. Like, yep, this is fine.
I love that so much. Yeah, the plasmoid has taken a strong liking to Alistair. I think I have a sort of level up to that, if you're okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Alistair likes to sleep in the dark. Right? And on space stations that's a little bit harder, right?
Yeah.
I think the plasmoid lays across their eyes as sort of an
like
eye
a little
mask.
face mask.
It literally just like rests up there and naps when Alistair naps.
I love that. That's cute. Yep, I believe that. All right, well, you played a 4. Here's a 10 of hearts. Done with that? No. What did your lover get you for your birthday this year? All right. As a thing, Alistair, on his appearance, he has a scar that runs down his eye that splits the color. It also makes him blind in that eye because the color being split is just essentially like a cataract that goes over the eye. They don't do too much to cover the eye, but I would probably say that Jules sees like people looking at it have a reaction because it's a pretty gnarly looking difference. I would say that Jules, probably more out of fun than out of necessity, bought him like a eye patch of some kind. And it's genuinely meant as like a poking fun, but Alistair genuinely will wear it outside. Because like, no, you got me a gift. I like the gifts you get me, so I'm going to wear this.
I like that. That's a cool eye patch. Okay, so I am reading through the rules, and you may have understood this already. It sounds like you did based on where your mouse was moving on the screen there. Is the highest card period is the one that actually wins it. So you're good to go there. I didn't realize that until a minute ago, so you were way ahead of me there.
This is okay. This is fine. This is fine.
Is it fine?
This is fine. During the battle, go back to what is happening. With your mech being so close, mine is going to like turn and just sweep the tail around, just to try to knock yours off balance. Probably succeeds in getting it a little bit further away to just create more distance. Like, nah, that's too close. You have the shotgun thing. Not wanting to do that. Further back. And it's also starting to see like the solar spikes on the back fan out to start taking in energy.
You're powering up.
Powering something up. Here we're going a little bit for broke on this one, kind of. Here's a 6.
Okay.
Your opponent lands a solid blow. What pain do you feel? As that tail sweeps and it knocks you, as the solar panels are charging, you still let off that shotgun, the Tabasco shot.
Yeah.
and it hits the solar panels, and it causes the charges forming to immediately shoot down. Like, all right, it's gonna take me longer to do this.
Oof. Okay. Oh, this is perfect, actually. So, what weapons does your opponent wield, and how are you prepared? You have literally just brought out your big weapon here. So I'm kind of gonna skip the first half of this question.
Yeah.
But I think there is a different arm that sees sees the solar spikes come out, and basically throws the mech equivalent of a tarp over them. Right? I think there is a sort of coverage so that they don't power up as much.
I like that. Like, genuinely, like, nope, you're not charging this attack.
Yeah.
Since I got the high card, I'll go ahead and just take those. Ugh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, now whatever. I say for this volley, yeah, as that the tarp's covering the just kind of like over the box, I can hear the Earth Defense Force on my side commenting that the defensive batteries are running low on ammo charges, so they're switching to trying to push the colony ships back further on the blockade, which is pushing the Earth ships further out of the blockade. So it's an oncoming thing of like, well, now if they break free, like we're screwed.
Yeah. So you have to hold tight here.
Yeah. This might screw me. We're going to start with the Ace of Clubs. My faction did not start the disagreement that fuels the war, but they did cast the first stone. What did they do to cause the fighting? There was a colony on the fringes that every colony has to do like a specific percentage style kickback to Earth in order to be promoted. Yeah, like a tithe. This colony wasn't sending in a tithe. Probably for a genuinely good reason of like, we can't afford to do that without disrupting the colony. But Earth probably put an embargo on the colony itself. So it's like, if you're not sending us the stuff, then we're not accepting anything that you do, and neither is anyone else. So we're forcing you to do this. Which was immediately not well received by any colony, let alone that one. Because it's like, you're promoting killing off a colony out of a tithe that we have so many colonies. Like, why does this one matter?
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. I think shortly thereafter, right, like you start to see colonies that when tithe ships happen, tithe ships start getting disabled in ports, and shipments stop coming in to Earth. So the snowball of like, because you didn't have this a bit of mercy once, like this is now happening everywhere. Yeah. Oof. Okay. Hi, this is the 10 of clubs.
Jesus Christ, come on.
It's the only club I had. I had no other choice.
Fair enough.
What do you carry with you at night to feel safe on the streets? Oh. So I think on space stations, I think they are insistent on their neutrality because space stations are fragile things. Right? Like most space stations, like if you talk about the International Space Station, the difference between you and the vacuum of space is like a half inch.
Blast.
Yeah, is nothing. Like, so if somebody were to bring a gun there, that's a problem. So I don't think it's a projectile weapon, and I also think that they want to keep weapon fighting to the minimum, so there are like metal detectors and things like that. So I see this as something from that is both a memento from home and is less detectable to those. So not obsidian, but like obsidian blades, right? Like how they're kind of glass, and that you can kind of, I mean, those are insanely sharp, right? And a problem. But I think some sort of glassy mineral from their colony that has been forged into a knife in much the same way as obsidian. I think that it is, instead of obsidian's black, I think it is close to like a lavender with like a green glitter inside.
So like an amethyst blade.
Yeah,
like a quartzite blade. Yeah.
Yes. I think quartz is actually a really great option there. So because it is so, like, you really can't detect for quartz because it's in so many things. Right? Like all of your electronics have some type of quartz in it. So if you have any electronics on you, it's going to set off a quartz alarm. I think that's perfect. Absolutely. And so they carry this on them. It's usually on, I think, an inner arm sheath, so that they can sort of Assassin's Creed grab it and flip it out if need be.
Yep.
So yeah.
Take the hand.
Take the hand. Okay. I was like, do I take it or are you going for it?
I have nothing.
Okay. Oh, that was here. 1 second. Let me shuffle.
Yeah, shuffle.
There we go.
Although I'm just taking. Jesus. Okay, this is fine.
Okay. Well. This is wild. All right. It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's good.
There's no problems here. Whew. Okay. I don't. Well, okay. You know what? We're just gonna. So this in this next fight, I think, there is a moment where that sort of tarp is successfully brought in and wrapped around, right? So each spike has its own, like, there is a I think of it like a bolo type thing, right? There is a actually like almost a zip tie or a wraparound something that gets fired and holds this on. That's going to require a lot of work to get it off, so that because you have shown in your first volley that you are willing to just take out a ship.
Yeah,
that's not okay.
Not good.
So that's where I don't care if I get a shot to the chest. That's not happening again, right? Like, I think that is the thing that really succeeds there more than anything. And I think in the Vox, you hear just sort of a do you value life so little that you'd waste it?
I value mine and the people I care about. Right now, everything else is just in my way.
Well, soon there won't be a way forward for you. And I think that's where we start drawing our next card.
Yeah. I have my full hands. That's what you got.
Yep, that is a 5 of diamonds.
Okay.
So 5 of diamonds. Why is it so hard to get a decent cup of damn coffee?
We live on a space station. It's like the easiest answer to that question.
I think I actually went a different easy direction here. So yes, that's true. However, I think we've destroyed part of Earth. I think that's part of why the colonies needed to end up there, right? And the types of places that are really good at growing coffee are types of places that have rainforests and other things, other biomes that are getting eaten away actively. So I think that and coffee is one of those industries that has unsustainable practices, right?
Yeah.
So the combination of really terrible farming practices, not giving a shit about the world being destroyed, and those with coffee practices taking them to the colonies, right? Like, I think small coffee farmers fled. And
that'd make a lot of
And
sense.
so I think part of the reason it's so hard to get a cup of coffee is that in the colonies you can. And Jules is used to every once in a while when they need to get a cup of coffee, getting a cup of coffee. It's not common, but it happens. And it's a treat sometimes. But here, no. They give you like weird coffee almosts.
Yeah. Coffee spelled with a K.
Right.
With one F and a K.
Exactly.
She's an 8 of diamonds.
Okay.
A few years ago, both of my parents passed away. Ow. We established that the first generation of mech pilots all were killed in their sleep. I think part of the reason why Alistair is a mech pilot at all is that he is a second generation because his parents were a first generation.
Oh.
So he has grown up with stories of how great mech pilots were. And that was it. Like, he talks about, like, I was raised by these people. I was raised by this family. But when it's asked, like, what about your mom and dad? Didn't know them.
Wow. Oof. Wow. Okay. I love that. Here's the question I have for you.
Yes.
How did they die?
We talk about how they were killed in their sleep. I almost want to say that there is a conspiracy that Alistair may believe in but doesn't talk about, which is that the original first generation of mech pilots could have ended the war. But it's either that whoever's genuinely like pulling the strings of the war for the success of whatever faction recognize like this would be bad economically for Earth or the colonies, and for the people that are sustaining themselves off of that, get rid of them. Like that and the mech pilots initially were very independent. You could have mech pilots that just said, we're not fighting, and they wouldn't. But you have a second generation that's more loyal to the cause, and to spin a lie that one side killed them or the other side killed them, as opposed to the third party that is genuinely making things happen killed them.
Oof. I like that a lot. That's very good. So I'm going to play a 9.
Oh yeah, of course you would. I want to. Okay, go ahead.
Before becoming a pilot, why were you fired from your old job? I think this is the job that it wasn't fired, but I think they failed at their old job, right? So I mentioned before they had tried to create a business. And I wonder if what if they had tried to become a coffee brewer? But coffee is expensive, and if you don't brew it at exactly the right temperatures, it can get really bitter on people, and some people have just learned to avoid it. And there's some weird practices beyond it. and it just didn't quite pan out. I think a mixture, of all the other things, and price point, and customer service, and who
Yep.
They tried to have their own barista stand, basically, and it just they got
pan
burned.
out. Yep.
Yeah.
I can't believe you're making me use this now, but fine. So here's a Queen of Hearts.
Ugh.
Yeah. When your lover smiles, what emotion do you feel? I think Alistair, even though he will put on this outward expression of like joy, feels genuinely hurt seeing the smile. Not because of like broken anything, but because Alistair doesn't think that he's making it out of the war, whether he lives or not. To him, it's like I was broken before this happened. The me that is with you is just the version that I think works. When the war's over, I'm not coming out of it.
Oof.
So it's this like thinking ahead and just going like, this can't be where this goes. It's one of the things where I think probably the question comes of like, have you ever had therapy with Alistair? Like, I don't think that works for me. Because it's the looking inwardly that they don't want to do, because it's asking themselves the questions of like I don't want the answers to these questions because I know I'm not going to like them.
Mm-hmm. Oh God.
If you play a King of Diamonds, I'm gonna shank you. I want you to know that. You wouldn't.
Let's see. I think that's perfect. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry.
Oh no!
Here's the thing. I feel better. It's not a King of Diamonds.
Is it a King of Hearts? No.
It's the King of Hearts.
Oh no.
A pulse blast shatters the mirrored protection of your opponent, revealing their identity as your lover. How do you hesitate? Do you reveal your own identity in return? You had to go with the therapy line. That was the convincing line for me to. I almost let you have it too. I think our last conversation was about the people, like over the Vox was about the people they care about. What do you let slip in that is the question I have for you. Like what? Because I think that's the simplest, the easiest way. Or okay, we can either what do you let slip at that, or our mechs are so close at this point we can literally see each other.
I think that the second one.
Because
it's that moment of like clarity at the words, getting rid of the blind anger and just like actually seeing each other in the mechs.
Yeah, I think the octopus arms grapple and are at the point that where they're looking at ripping the head off the mech and disabling it. And there's a moment where Jules looks over and sees the person they're fighting for. One of the people, I should say, but
yeah.
But the person who is oftentimes in their mind when they're fighting, and realizes that a lot of this fight has been with them. Alistair. This is... You said once that you wanted to walk after the war was done. I can guarantee that you get to walk home again. All I need is for you to yield.
What? I'm just supposed to stop? I'm supposed to take people at their word that nothing's going to happen to me or to my home?
You don't have
I know you can promise that. What about them? Like the mech's head gestures up to the colony ships.
We have the power to make sure they honor their word. These are people that I trust. And I know that you don't have to trust them. But do you trust me?
More than you could imagine. Which is why I can't stop. Just make this count, okay?
Fuck. I'm sorry.
I'm not.
But it's bigger than us. And I think you know that too.
Jules, this is the first time you get to see what I actually am like.
It's not the first time we've fought before.
No. But it's the first time I don't have to yell out a call sign. Make this war count. Don't give me promises you can't keep.
And I think there is the plasmoid sort of quivering back behind the neck here, and you can see there are just tears. And Jules looks up. I love you. And the mech rips yours in half.
Oh. Before that happens.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm reading through the rules.
Oh, yeah.
We play until we run out of cards in our hands.
Oh, wait. Oh, I am wrong. Okay, that's, well, whoopsies.
It's all good. Is now, despite it's now just much more serious. Every card from the King of Hearts that happened gets discarded. It goes into no player's decks.
Yes. So.
Oh, now it's a very serious game. Now both sides know what's at stake. I think we could skip the volley bit because we know what has happened now with the volley.
Yeah.
So you can go ahead and play since you won that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want to do here.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. So, 10. When you were a kid, your parents drove you very far to see something very important. Where did you go and what did you see? Um, so I think there's when we're talking about drove you very far in the colonies, I think it is in space, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a small craft needed to get around, and I think they took me out. There was the old wreckage of one of the first mechs. No, yeah, one of the first mechs that got destroyed in a battle and floated for a while, and ended up getting caught in an asteroid belt. And so it's this just destroyed mech with frozen rocks flying through space. And it's such an odd sight. And I think Jules' parents tried to take a moment to tell them that this is like to make this a learning moment, that this is what people are capable of.
Yeah.
And to never forget that.
I like that. So, King of Diamonds.
Yeah.
Well, I almost hit share screen. That's not what I wanted to do. When I stand on the shores of a beach and let the water wash over my toes, what memory do I try to conjure from the edge of my mind? I'm going to play off of the thing that you just talked about.
Yeah.
The first mech that I ever saw was just called the Emperor. It was a large mech that was probably my dad's mech. And they talked about how they couldn't recover the wreckage of it. It was destroyed after, like, some of the mechs aren't. When the first generation pilots were murdered, their mechs were still utilized, but because the pilots weren't there, they weren't as well made and well kept. The Emperor was never recovered. They just know its location of where it is, which would be the same asteroid belt that you discovered that they found that mech and we're talking about it.
Woohoo! Okay.
And Alistair hasn't seen that mech. They have never had the ability to go and, like, pay proper respects. So it's just the memory of, like, his dad showing him the mech.
Wow.
Like, when it was fully operational.
In all its majesty.
Yep.
Yeah, you're going to win that one.
Yeah. You feel my hand.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. Okay. For this volley, I'll say there's this, like, they're still in that clash state, and right before you're about to start pulling, the visor over the core piece that shows me darkens, as if, like, I've just hit a button to darken it, and the con breaks out of the hold and begins to shoot back and is starting to try to pull the tarp off.
Whew.
Right. 5 of clubs. What small luxury do you sneak to enjoy when it all feels too much? Um, sunflower seeds. There's of the idea of unsustainable things. Um, the concept of even like having small seeds or just things to chew on, like a pumpkin seed or something like that. They're genuine. They're luxuries. Like, yeah, a small bag would be like $100. Um, but as much as he can grab with like whatever meager payments he's making out of the military, he's snagging as many of those bags as he can and just sneaking them on board wherever he goes, just to have like this little comfort food.
I like that. I like that a lot. Is there flavoring added to them?
I think that he adds his own like little spice mixes to the bags whenever he can get the chance to do so, because
Cajun
in
spice.
his own a little Cajun spice, because in his own mind, like these don't taste like anything. Mm-hmm. I have to add seasoning to this, or to it to taste like something other than just little pockets of sad.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna go ahead and go with a 7 here. You've befriended the mechanic who works on your mecha tirelessly. What is their name, and how do you two pass the time between missions? So, how we pass the time between missions. I think there is, honestly, I'm going to say karaoke. Because it's such a departure from everything that like the bound sort of nature of Jules at work, and also this mech mechanic, or this is probably not someone like you. Maybe you've met them, but they're like a friend from work, right?
Yeah.
And singing karaoke is oftentimes the freest you'll see Jules.
Does Jules have a specific genre that they're like tied to?
I don't know what it would be like, but I know that there is an era of 90s and 2000s like pop punk ballads that like once you start singing, it doesn't matter who's there and what your tone is. It's more about belting it out and the energy you bring with it than singing it right. And I think that's
the Mr. Brightside era of music. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's something like that, where they don't have to be good, and it's not a song where like you're showing off your pipes, right? Yeah. It's a song where you're belting it out and fist bumping in the air and bouncing around and looking like an idiot and air guitar, right? Like that's the vibe.
Yeah, I can definitely track that as a karaoke enthusiast. Yeah, I definitely can track that. Here's a 9 of clubs. When the skies became unsafe, we moved to ground travel. With the slower method of transportation, what part of your life did you have to cut out? Probably, actually, this works really well for him because he's from Earth. I think from even in the ghetto that he was from, like the concept of traveling through the air was already a sort of null and void system anyways. Just can't afford it anyways. But if you could afford it, it's the safest option. The immediate cutoff of that meant that everywhere was unsafe to travel, which meant that Alistair grew up with probably a much larger chip on his shoulder because, like, I have to protect myself. So he's immediately giving up this, like, concept of safety and is just, everyone can hurt me. So I have to be more dangerous than everyone.
Gotcha.
Which is probably translated into everyday life on the colony ship, on the space station, of like, Alistair has a reputation as being a bit more ruthless and rough, but it's a protection state point from him of like, everyone can hurt you, so you have to put on airs of being tougher.
Yeah. And I am gonna let you win that one.
Sweet.
Which is dangerous for me, but it's fine.
will say, oh, good.
Yeah, all good. The one thing I will probably say is it looks like we're getting to a point where we may draw cards and there may only be one card left.
Yep.
If that is the case, do we make it so that we stay even as much as we can?
No.
Or just draw down to the bottom?
I think you just draw it down to the bottom.
Okay.
I think it's yeah.
That's what I expected, but also I wanted to check.
Yep. I'd say that this is less so of a volley that happens on this exchange, but just back over the box, like as the beam is charging. You have a chance. I don't have to have this hit you. Tell them to stand down. I will hit your main ship.
You'd sacrifice that many people?
We can't lose this. Tell them to stand down.
I would if I could.
And I think we're gonna get started. Yeah, you know what? We're doing this.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, starting small. Your opponent swings. How do you avoid their blow this time? You go for, as you try to kind of set like another tarp out. No. And instead of letting it like hit, I just swing the tail, and as the tarp like wraps around the tail, it just jams into the ground and sticks in. So now instead of just having the tarp around me, I'm using the bolos attached to sort of anchor the mech to the ground.
Okay. Yes, you're anchoring in. I'm trying to. I have a bad feeling. So you know what? An 8 of clubs.
Okay.
Why are you willing to fight for your faction no matter what? I do think, like I said, it feels a lot more to the effect of...
That's a spade.
Oh, that I thought I'd answer this already. That makes more sense. I don't know why I mix up clubs and spades sometimes. I've been playing cards my entire life.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time, so you're fine.
Okay. What underhanded trick does your opponent pull? Oof.
Probably blasting the colony ship.
I do think it's blasting the colony ship. Yeah.
It may be a thing where, like, genuinely the knowledge of the con mech was because they weren't really attacking, like, other mechs. Or if they were going after them later, but they were just targeting the ships.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah, they are a ship destroyer. Oof. So, yeah, I think that's what happens.
All right. I want to see what you have. Here's a jack of spades. While my screen flickers, what escape route does your opponent cut off? Due to me anchoring myself to the ground, there's this moment where it's like, okay, I could unanchor and break off, but that completely will negate the charge that I'm doing. And even if I do, that leaves me open again for a Tabasco shot. And I don't know if the mech can handle that, so it's just this, all right, well, it's gonna get settled, so might as well.
The Queen of Spades.
Yep.
When do you realize your opponent is likely to win this fight? I think there's a moment when Jules realizes there are things that they are unwilling to do. It doesn't seem that Alistair is hampered by that in the slightest. And so there's a moment in the background that that comes and says, if it comes down to being the worst, if it comes down to an all-out knockout drag-out fight, I may hit a barrier that I don't know that I can cross. Yeah, I was expecting that. I almost gave it to you, but I was like, it's just going to come out later.
Mm-hmm. King of Spades. But this is actually going to be interesting. There's a moment where the mouth opens as the solar charge continues, and reflexively, the answer to the question was, what your opponent lands a major blow, what vital system is damaged, where the mouth opens for the solar charge, and you reflexively like send out a Tabasco shot, and it hits the spikes. It shatters them, like a part of the spikes. The charge is still going, but it's now on overdrive. So it's starting to overload the mech with energy, which is starting to mess with the vital systems as well.
Okay.
Go get and gather my stuff now.
Uh-huh. We didn't pile that well for you, did we?
Oh yeah, it's this is where spades come in. Let's go.
Oh.
I'm gonna try to, yeah. All right, I'll take one. We're down to the last bits.
We are.
This is an awful hand.
Good. I mean, what?
I'm going to save what the actual attack will look like, because this might depend on how this ends. So I will save him from attacking. But the volley itself, as both the ships are getting closer, some on the Earth side are starting to communicate and just being like, "Hey, if you all stand down, you will be afforded like a actual trial. Like we will not execute anyone who gives up now." I'm unsure of how the colony ships would have responded at this point. Alistair's not really even paying attention to the outward struggle.
The colony ships, I think, have this attitude of you can die now or be slowly strangled. And so they're in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead and take that lead, friend.
Let's see if any of these work out for me at all. This problem probably won't. So 3 of clubs. How old were you when the fighting began? His parents were first generation. I think he may have been pretty young. He may have been like 4 or 5 years old when the fighting first like began to pick up.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't really considered a war until after the first generation was dead. It was probably considered like skirmishes, and then now it's a war. But he's probably very used to like the concept of this has been happening for a while.
Okay. Four of Hearts. You and your
No
lover.
more clubs?
Apparently not. You and your lover confessed your feelings to one another under a sky filled with millions of stars. What did you promise them that night?
Oh.
I think I promised them that they were safe with me. And it hurts to say that.
It is, especially now. You know what? I'm going to make it hurt more. The moment you promised that was the don't make promises you can't keep. But
Damn,
with a
that's
bit
good.
of a cocky smile on that.
Damn, that's good.
No, I'm not doing that. You can take those.
Okay. I think there is I think the colony ships in response to in response to the messages from Earth, sorry about that. Open fire on the mechs present, and I think several of them are just wiped out.
Yeah.
Love at first sight. How did we meet? I think we met. How did we meet? I think it was. Are you good with it being at karaoke?
Yeah, completely.
I actually love that. It was actually at karaoke. Yeah. There was a freeness and also a surety that was seen in Jules. As they just.
I think in the.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was saying, as they just are like flying around the room with a microphone, doing crazy, like just they could probably do backflips off of stuff, and they're just having a blast throwing tricks while singing, right?
And then the opposite end, I think for Alistair, who's very introspective, there's this sort of a wall that is people want to break down to get to know, especially with how they sing. I think that Alistair is a very soft singer, very like soft rock and indie songs that 4 or 5 people know what the song is, but like, how do you know the song? How are you singing it like that? Like the opposite end of that spectrum, this sort of opposites attract kind of thing.
Okay. And did you say that Alistair sings that, or?
Alistair sings like very soft indie songs, yeah.
Okay. I like that.
All right. 2 hearts. How do you keep your How do you keep your pilot activities secret from your lover? Alistair's probably the job that they have where they act as sort of. I think Alistair would try to have the most like military associated job on a station, which would be security. So they already kind of seem like they're military-esque, but in a much more civilian factor as opposed to outside of it, that the conversations of like, well, what do you think about the outside force? Like, that doesn't even come into question. That, and they just seem way too introspective and not aggressive when around Jules to like that even come into play at all.
I like that. All right. Nine of Hearts. What argument did you and your lover have last week, and what did you do to comfort them after you made up? I think there was a conversation about finances. I think the while the sunflower seeds are like a really important thing for you,
Yeah.
it's really hard to like secure that with the numbers, and Jules is so used to having to sacrifice to make sure you can put food on the table first, and then have a nice thing later, that they have trouble dealing with your splurge, even though it doesn't put you guys in danger financially. It's
the two sides of people that have grown up in poverty, of like, one is like save, and the other one is we have money, use it.
Yes, use it because it may not last, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the other side is save it because the moment it's gone you can't control it, right? Absolutely, it is that. And I think after they fight, I do think Jules shows back up with a tiny sunflower plant. They can't do the seeds.
Yeah.
But if this is taken care of, it might put out the seeds.
Yeah.
And that is a medium that they can work with.
You're taking this one.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah. This is dangerously close.
It's really close.
Oh boy.
Let's do it. All right. The part of the weird part about this is, as somebody who plays trick-taking games, the number of cards in your opponent's hand is a huge thing, and like you can't see it with me, and I can't see it with you. We are both tied up in the same way.
Yep.
But it hurts. It hurts a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've already forgotten what card I played. So Jack of Diamonds.
Oh, it's a fucking. I'm not gonna win that at all.
You sold something important in order to move to the city. What was it? I think I sold my safety. Because the idea of it was like, I've got this loan, and then I went to the military to sort of pay off some of the loans, and things like that. So there is literally two levels of this, right? Like, the loan shark will come for me and my family if they don't get paid. But also, if they do get paid and I just mess things up, my life is on the line as well.
Yeah.
So I've literally sold my safety and security for this chance.
And even with like, and the other end of it too is you have no idea who's working for that loan shark on the ship, like on that station.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not gonna win this. I'm just gonna use it. 7 of Hearts.
Okay.
What is your lover's favorite food? Is it difficult to cook it for them? Um, I'm going through my food knowledge here.
Mm.
I think because it's a hardy tuber that can grow anywhere. I think that Alistair jokingly said that he can make like sweet potato pie once. And now it is a consistent thing on the weekends that he makes sweet potato pie because that became like a staple food.
Well, it's so I would add to this. It's not that because it's a staple. It is. I think that Jules grew up without spices a lot of times. So it's the things that you make like Cajun, right?
Yeah.
Like sweet potato pie, which has a good amount of spices in it, right? That's part of what makes it delightful.
Mm-hmm.
I think those things are things that were so out of reach for them. That they absolutely love them.
Take that hand. We are tied.
Everything's gonna be fine, I swear.
Oh my god.
All right. I think there is. By the way, to go back to this fight a little bit, it's almost a relief to do the mech fight. To be honest with you,
yeah, almost.
At this point in the game, and I kind of love that. I think at this point in the mech fight, there is rarely does the Cthulhu mech throw a kick, but I think in this moment the idea is to throw a kick and knock you off balance for any shot you may be willing to take. And I think so there's like a shearing of metal as the two like armored legs come into contact, right? No massive damage, but a little bit of off balance and a little bit of weakening.
Yeah.
All right. 4 of spades.
Okay.
Your opponent takes to the skies. Oh, when your opponent takes to the skies, do you follow? Interesting.
I would say this could also be seen as like when we've fought before.
Yeah. I think usually Jules and Olympia is a defensive mech. I think they are the last line of defense, oftentimes. And so when you take to the skies, they hold their ground to make sure there's not a retaliatory strike or a trick coming in.
Yeah.
I think that they have to be steady in this.
I think that's what makes their fights more intense because the Yellow King is, the King in Yellow is very ambushy.
Yes.
And as soon as that moment of surprise and like my upper hand's gone and will retreat back, I can't come back to attack because you're already in a defensive position. So the fact that this fight has drawn out as long as it is like, oh, that's interesting and different.
Yes. Absolutely.
Here's a 7. What weapon does your opponent wield that you are unprepared for? The bolos and the tarps.
Perfect. No notes.
Yes.
You know. Okay.
Oh no.
Yep.
You had Jack.
Yeah. And I held on to it for just this moment. Because I knew I needed to. On a snow-covered mountain. Jesus Christ. All right. On a snow-covered mountain, you almost proposed. What stopped you? And if there were no war, would you try again? Oh. Oh. Okay. I think. Yeah. I think there was probably the only moment. So the two were at the top of a mountain. That it was like on a skiing vacation type thing, right? Like you've got the cute cafe at the top of the mountain, and Jules was able to find a not bad coffee for the first time in years. And I don't know what Alistair would have gotten, whether it be a hot cocoa or like a spiced wine or, you know, any of that, right?
Yeah, probably like a mulled wine. Yeah,
Mulled wine. Okay. And they're sitting over these drinks over, looking over this mountain as the snow is falling, not so heavy that it obscures the world below, but just heavy enough that it softens everything and makes you forget about everything around you. And Jules had spent months figuring out what type of ring, and slowly, like, secretly getting the size and doing all of these things in the background, and they had it in their snowsuit. And they thought this might be the moment, and they actually go to reach for it, and they've lost the ring somewhere on the way. So they are unable. And if there was no war, it would only be a setback.
Yeah.
But the war speeds things up and makes it so that if you have one moment, you may not get a second. You have to move now if you're going to move. And so I think if there was no war, if they weren't on opposing sides, they would probably try again. But they may never get that shot. So,
Trick is yours. I have no idea how many cards are still in your hand.
0. That is my final card.
Oh my god.
Which is why I had to play it. I had no other choice here.
I'll go ahead and just... my last two, which puts me
23 to 24.
23-24. Yep.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I'm going a different route than I did last time. I do think there is, because you're still charging up this blast for this colony ship. I think there is a same sort of conversation of like, Alistair, please, this is our last chance to walk away and be happy.
Just kind of the visor like goes up so you can see Alistair in there, just kind of like checking all the systems. think Khan can't move. Whatever you did, I can't make him work his legs. I can't shut off the blast.
Do you have your EVA suit?
Yeah. I'm gonna go on trial if I lose. You know that.
I do. But it's a trial of your peers and not whatever system you guys have now. We only have a few seconds. If you get out, I can do what I can to help.
You want your colony to win?
I have to.
Make it count. And he's going to hit a button on Khan that is going to activate its recall function towards the Earth main ship. And as soon as he's hit that button, he's going to hit the eject. Just
okay. Gotcha. So two things is going to happen right now. I love this. This is cool. And I have stuff to add if you're cool with that.
absolutely.
So the two bots are grappled together at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So with the recall, both bots start moving towards that ship. That the arm is still powered up. And I think sort of two things happen really, really quickly. The first is that two of the octopus arms shoot out little boleros and bind the arm into the chest. And the second is sort of a twofold thing. There is one of the arms is there for pickup and reconnaissance and like helping things, right? Like there is a grappling arm type thing. And I think as that eject happens, the grappling arm reaches out, trying to grab you.
Yep.
As the Cthulhu bot shoves off, propelling this mech into this ship. As it shoots itself, you can see there's a cool like silhouette of, you just see the shape of this like person or this Godzilla person. And as it lights up, you see this shot go straight through it and into the ship behind it. And so there's just explosion with the silhouette of this Godzilla robot.
Yeah.
Do we? Here's the question: do we call it there, or do we play Aftermath? We don't have any mechanics for this. This is just RP, right?
We have no mechanics for the Aftermath. Yeah, this is just RP. I'm so good with either. A part of me wants to be a complete dickhead and just leave the ending ambiguous.
I kind of love that too. So let's go ahead and do that. I kind of wanted to lean towards that, but I wanted to give you a chance to like, if you had more to say, right? That's amazing. So that is our show for today. Sorry, I apparently someone's been spamming in chat, and I was so caught up, I didn't catch them. So it has been. This is the One Shot Wonderarium. Oh hey, lost visuals there for a second because I'm a fool. This has been the One Shot Wonderarium with Jehevaunte here. Jehevaunte, it has been awesome. I was unsure of where this game was going to go. This game has been so much fun. And for those of you who want to find more about this game, it is called Breakup on Reentry. And it is... where is the author's name? Come on. I had the author's house... River, if you want to see the name, so River House Games is who created this game. So if you like this game, go ahead, search Breakup on Reentry and River House Games. You should be able to find it. It's been a blast. It's been so much fun. I very much enjoyed it, and I very much enjoyed getting to play. This is the first time we played together, so this has been amazing to get to do.
This was awesome.
If folks want to know more about you, if they are like, this Jehevaunte dude is dope, I wanna follow him, where do they go?
If you want to follow me, I predominantly am over on Twitter at Jehevaunte. That's JHE as in Echo, V as in Victor, AUNTE. I predominantly just post there because I don't do much posting anywhere else. If you want to follow my Twitch, it's twitch.tv/eclipse613, where I started running actual plays on there. So if you want to see me on the other side of the table doing actual play stuff, I'm there as well.
That's awesome. I will have to tune in to that because I haven't done that yet. But I will have to here pretty soon.
Well, can I go ahead and do a cheeky self-advertise for something coming up?
Absolutely. Please do.
Cheeky self-advertising. Do you like anime? Do you like the longest-running anime that people remember, which is One Piece? This Thursday, I am starting episode 1 of the Set Sail, our One Piece actual play on my channel, with a bunch of peeps, which will be a long-running campaign. I'm super excited to do that. That's going to be over on my Twitch. This should be very fun because I get to be completely insane on the entirety of me deciding to just make islands by myself.
That is awesome. I love that. I have been seeing you push for that. It looks really cool. I know nothing about One Piece, so I have been thinking about being like, maybe I could get in on that. But also, I will. I'm a very busy man who doesn't know the content. So.
It's completely fine. We have somebody that's just started literally watching One Piece the day I brought them onto the game. So
that's amazing.
You're totally fine.
But absolutely. So yeah, go and check out Jehevaunte, all of those places. And otherwise, we always have the Wednesday Night Revival here. We're currently playing a game that is appropriately named Uh-Oh Isekai, where our characters have been brought into this realm. Some of us have, some of us have not. And we are now on our way to fight a dragon lich to see if we can save the world. Things are dicey constantly in that. And we're currently running through 4-shot games to see what our next long-running campaign is going to be. So we've done Vampire the Masquerade, Monster of the Week. We're doing Dungeons & Dragons right now. We'll have a different Dungeons & Dragons one. And then I'm looking at doing Savage Worlds. We'll do like a Deadlands Wild Weird West style game there. So that's amazing. And then if you like actual plays, of course, Thirsty Gay Thursday, our folks are usually playing through Baldur's Gate, but sometimes they turn on the polyamory mod for games like, it's a farming game, and I've just forgotten what it's called. I can't think of it right now. Stardew? Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley? Yeah.
Yes, Stardew Valley, so they can romance everybody. It's a blast.
Yeah.
You should go check it out. It's a lot of fun. With that being said, thank y'all for tuning in to the One Shot Wonderarium. It has been an amazing time, and we're so happy to have you. Love y'all, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.